Yeah? What's up, everyone? It is episode 308 of the FM Marks podcast. I am the brainless one, and I cannot wait to get into this episode because I have so much I want to talk about. Only in WWE, and now actually in AEW, can we get in one of the slower weeks when it comes to like stories and news and all that stuff, because I didn't think this was a very, very deep story week, but my goodness, the stuff that did happen, I cannot wait to get into. We do have new WWE women's tag team. Looks like Jay's just as excited as I am to get into this. Here we go. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, cousin Jay?
Hey, there's a lot of stuff up. I mean, there is a lot of stuff. I mean, coming into, I think it was about a day and a half ago, I'm like, there's a couple things to talk about. And then all of a sudden, there was like an explosion of stuff that I'm like, well, I'd really like to get into this. And I'd like to get into this.
Yeah. And that's funny, too, because I was feeling the same way, because it was either Tuesday or Wednesday when I was doing the Curtis Axel celebratory memes for yesterday. And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I'm like, there really has not been anything really newsworthy this week, like a terrible amount. What's up, Chris Brown? I mean, we had another heel turn on Monday.
Yep.
We got an update on the contract of Vince McMahon.
Yep.
Triple H came out on SmackDown, so I wanted to talk about that announcement too. But I mean, there's just a lot that has happened. Yeah, the last couple days. Is there anything in particular that you would like to start with, good sir? Real quick though, hold on. Before you get into it, I'm sorry. I love the fact that it looks like you are part of Team Kane and I am Team Undertaker.
Yes. Now, when I saw that you had the purple backlight last week, I was like, you know what? I could add my own backlight. Let's see what I could do. I did that. Since you were purple, I'm like going, I'm not going to copy the purple. I'm going red.
I like having the backdrop color. I didn't think I would, but like it's really like stuck on me. And I love the fact that we're both going to have colors. This is great. But I had to mention that. But anyway,
yeah.
What do you want to talk about first? What is the first thing that comes to mind of all the stuff?
I'm just going general statement AEW.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that has gone on with AEW. And, we had the shocking return of Jeff Harvey on.
Can we talk about the positive of this is the fact that he did not dance like an asshole on his way to the ring to save his brother?
I'm pretty sure that he got enough fan ridicule from that to decide that he was not going to do that again.
Wait, do you think he saw the writing on the wall?
With the eye issue apparently that he has, maybe not.
Oh, goodness.
I really have. I mean, I've made my feelings clear on Jeff Hardy. I was a huge fan of his, and he's been given chance after chance after chance after chance, and he keeps on doing some really dumb stuff. And I just think it's time for him to step away completely from the ring and go about his life. The thing is, I don't know if with his substance issues that he has saved money along the way.
Right.
My feeling is probably no. But I think he would just be better off being away from the environment that in part led to him having some of the issues that he's had.
Right.
And the fact that one, he's been brought back, and not that long after, he reached his plea deal and what have you. And I'm going to say got off light because of a technicality. But, invited back. But he's not even technically, cleared to perform like a wrestling match, and here he was getting physical on Wednesday. So
Well,
I just think it's similar to like the CM Punk thing with John Moxley, where he was not, medically cleared, and you saw him like limping to the ring, and it's like, well, why are they using him? And like, well, it'll just be a squash. And I just think that could lead to something really bad happening down the line that could cause a really big financial issue for AEW if Tony Khan keeps trying to skirt like medical clearance, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree, and I really did not like it, and I'm taking CM Punk's side on this one. I don't care if he's – I mean, I can't overlook the fact that he's never seen a Rocky movie. I mean, I've seen literally every single Rocky movie. Literally. I even had to endure Rocky V.
I enjoy the fight scenes in Rocky V. I'll say that.
That's like saying you like the baseball scenes in Major League Back to the Minors.
Hey, I like the street fight at the end of Rocky V. I like when Tommy the Machine Gun has his boxing matches. Most of the rest of it is not that good.
No. My favorite part is the end of it where the dude goes, I'll sue you. And then, Rocky knocks him out. And he goes, sue me for what? And that was the only thing I took away that was actually good about that entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah? But
yeah, go ahead.
I just, what does this mean now that Jeff Hardy's back? Are we going to get Matt Hardy and Jeff being reunited and we're going to get the Hardy Boys back in AEW? Or is Jeff going to now join forces with Matt Hardy in whatever faction he's in now? Because he was in one, now he might be in another one, and the faction he was helping or associating himself with I don't even know like what's really going on with AEW because it's confusing. But I'm just curious to see what they do going forward with Jeff Hardy.
One thing I will say, they have brought him back, and as much as I am against having them bringing him back, he I think, he's gone beyond his limit of chances, but, Tony Khan giving him another opportunity. I hope he doesn't screw it up. I hope he doesn't fall off the wagon again. All that being said, I think one thing that will be good at possibly preventing him from falling off the wagon, like I said, they made the decision to bring him back. If I were Tony Khan, I hope he had a conversation with Jeff that says, tone down your style, because you're going to hurt yourself like he did with the Darby Allin match. And as much as I have an appreciation for him and Darby putting their bodies on the line, clearly it was in part something that triggered him to do what he did and got him in trouble.
Right.
Jeff, pick and choose your spots. You do not have to send your, 45-year-old body through a demolition derby.
Right.
When you go to the pay-per-view, if you want to do that, great. I will give you time off after so you can actually heal. Because he had that match with Darby, and then it was, a couple weeks later on the pay-per-view where the Hardys went against the Bucks, and Jeff was not even close to, really ring ready.
No, he looked like shit.
Yeah. So I hope Tony Khan has had that conversation with him, like, hey, last chance, and two, tone your stuff down. You don't have to do that all the time anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny, too, because I know last week we were just talking about how that triple threat match for the Intercontinental title has kind of leapfrogged the TLC 2 match from WrestleMania 17 is my favorite WrestleMania match. Jeff Hardy's been taking bumps like that since the 90s. He took – what's up, Timmy? He took that nasty, nasty bump that he completely miscalculated on when he did the swanton off the really tall ladder outside of the ring onto Rhino and Crash Holly. Oh my God, no, wait, wrong small stature wrestler, Spike Dudley, and if I'm not mistaken, I think no, it might have been Matt, but I wanted to say Jeff was the one that was on top of the ladder with Bubba when they got pushed off by Rhino, where they did that nasty spill and landed through the 4 tables, which I thought Bubba Ray Dudley was dead from.
And when Jeff was really over and everybody thought that he was going to beat Randy at, I think it was, Royal Rumble like 2008 or 2009, and everybody's like going, oh, Jeff is so over, he's going to win this thing. And I think it was in the build-up to that Rumble, he ended up doing the Swanton from like 30 feet above him, like jumping off the Titantron, and looked crazy, looked really good. And I think it was like he might have landed on crash pads, but like even so, stop doing that. You're not 20 anymore, and it causes you problems. Please, for the love of God, I don't want to have another sad ending.
Right. And Chris Brown even said Jeff isn't going to be satisfied until he's in a wheelchair paralyzed from the neck down at this rate. And, Timmy had mentioned that we shouldn't be surprised because Tony Khan mentioned the Wembley show last week. So we got a returning Jeff Hardy this week. And the next topic I actually want to get to, since you did mention CM Punk, there's been rumors the last 24, 48 hours about the potential return of CM Punk to AEW, and they're trying to figure out what's the best route to go upon his return.
So there are rumors that June 21st, right before Forbidden Door, when they're in Chicago, that this is going to be when we get the return of CM Punk. Now, one of the things out there is AEW is going to start a third show, possibly called AEW Collision, that will be at 6:05 on Saturday.
Oh, so it'll be main event.
It's gonna WCW Saturday night.
It'll be more like main event.
So what they say they want to do is have kind of a soft brand split and have a lot of high-profile people on the Saturday show, so the people that CM Punk may or may not have issues with, he could be separated from them. Apparently, this is one of the things out there. The fact that there is so much press getting out there about this potential CM Punk return, clearly AEW is part of this campaign, and there has to be some talks, and I'm guessing we probably will get him back. As much, again, this is something I've brought up several times. I don't like people who walk out on contracts and walk out on companies, and Punk did get injured during his match at All Out, so he was going to be out anyway, but he tried to sit there and put nitroglycerin, a neutron bomb, and a nuclear bomb to the bridge that was AEW, and now after all these months seems to have calmed down. It sounds like he possibly has tried to reach out to Twinkle Toes and the Buckaroos to let bygones be bygones and try to do some business. Because I think it would be good to try to get some business done for the Wembley show, although it sounds like there's a ton of interest already in England where the pre-sale stuff where you have to get the code to be able to get the tickets. There were 5,000 already for this. Just that they're going to have a show in England, and they're expecting big things to happen. So 45,000 people in a stadium that could hold 90,000, and this is before anything's announced.
Yep.
It already sounds like this is, no matter what, going to be a success, but they want to sell as many seats as possible. Bringing CM Punk back will sell tickets, and the English wrestling community seems very, very in tune with what goes on behind the scenes, and they would love to get, FTR with CM Punk against, the Elite. I think that would something that would move tickets, and I think Tony Khan is going in that direction. I think he will figure out a way to make it work between now and then. There are several months before that show happens, but bringing back CM Punk again, I think a guy who's kind of sort of walked out on a company and or trashed a company multiple times, I think is a bad bet long term. But if short term Tony Khan's like, you know what, I'm going to write out this contract and let him perform, and hopefully he can repair whatever relationships he had. Maybe CM Punk could reach out to Jeff Harvey and say, hey, by the way, after Victory Road, how did you actually smooth things over with the entire locker room when you made a joke out of the main event?
Right.
And you ruined it for everybody.
Well, I don't want to sit here and draw straws or just nitpick and all that stuff, because you know how I feel on this whole situation. Because yes, as much as CM Punk is in the wrong, because you don't go and oppress her and absolutely obliterate your supervisors and your coworkers and make them all look stupid right in front of the big boss, the man who signs your the son of the man who signs your paychecks, and just absolutely light the world on fire. But at the end of the day, it's not like Kenny and the freaking Young Bucks are doing themselves any favors. It's not like they're coming out looking like angels. I want that to get out.
The fact that CM Punk, it sounds like, has reached out to them and they said, nope, this is still like a problem and there have been no bridges mended, makes me think that they're a bunch of like little children. It's like, it's been over 6 months and the guy's trying to call you to try to figure something out, and your ego is so large and so shattered by the fact that he made fun of you and made you seem like a joke that you can't take a call from him. Your ego is so big and so damaged now that you just can't deal with this. As much as I don't like what CM Punk did or said, like, he could have done it in a different manner than he did, and he kind of walked out on the company, and the Bucks and Kenny are extremely petty at this point, even more so than before. Be a fucking adult. And oh, by the way, your fucking management, you're supposed to be the adult in the room.
Yep.
So
and I'm sorry, I've had my opinions about Kenny and the Young Bucks for quite a few years, and it was even before AEW became a thing. I didn't think that Kenny Omega was anything big, because I had no idea who the hell he was until AJ Styles showed up in WWE, and then I found out who Kenny Omega was. Honest to goodness, I didn't know who Kenny Omega was until about 2016. Didn't know he was in WWE developmental. And I see this guy, and I'm like, and I see the guy, and I hear the guy talk, and I watch him, and it's like, yeah, he does really cool things in the ring, but oh my God, I still remember El Jefe and I got into an argument a couple of years ago about Bray Wyatt and Kenny Omega, where he said Kenny Omega, because I said that Bray Wyatt is a great talker. He said that Bray Wyatt can't wrestle and Kenny's a great wrestler. I said, well, Kenny's a great wrestler, but he can't talk. Well, he said, well, Kenny Omega is better in the ring than Bray Wyatt's on the microphone. And I said, yes, but Bray Wyatt's better in the ring than Kenny Omega is on the microphone. And we agreed. Yeah. I don't see it with him. He's got the dirt face. You don't build your, this thing around this guy. And then to really just kind of add the insult to the injury of how I felt about Kenny Omega, I had to watch that 11 minutes of my life I'll never get back with him and the 7 Canadian destroyers that he ate from the freaking blow-up doll. I cannot, I will never, I cannot, I don't respect them. I don't. And this whole thing with them, this is easy. This is a multi-million-dollar box office we're talking about here. You have the potential to sell out a 90-seat stadium at Wembley.
Wembley Stadium had a professional wrestling event, was 1992 SummerSlam.
Yep. And that was when the British Bulldog and Bret Hart had that massive main event. And that crowd was electric for that. I still remember the 92 SummerSlam. It was awesome. Even if the Legion of Doom kind of
overlooked match on that card, I don't know if it had the same emotional level of stuff going on, but Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior 92 SummerSlam was a damn fine match. As much as Ultimate Warrior generally was not a great worker, he and the Macho Man had some freaking magic in there. So, all that being said, so Chris Brown is talking about McIntyre possibly leaving and being at All In. I have heard conflicting reports of when Drew McIntyre's contract with WWE expires. I have heard some people say that it's during the summer. I have heard some people say that it ends at the end of the year. So
yeah, I've heard.
To put it out there that Drew McIntyre shows up there. Right now, Drew is banged up and injured, and I think some people might be looking a little bit more into like, why is he off TV?
Right.
You know, mad about what's going on. It's like apparently he was banged up before WrestleMania, and similar to Finn Balor, was just kind of like, I will be able to get through my match at WrestleMania, but I'm gonna need some time after that. Although fucking Finn Balor, that freaking dude, with all the issues that they had on Monday Night Raw with people getting to Seattle and being able to travel there, Finn Balor went out there and had a freaking match, and I mean, fucking beast. The fact that he was dealing with a calf issue going into WrestleMania was, you know, for an injury like that, it was supposed to take like double or triple the time to heal, and he healed enough in time, and then all of a sudden had a freaking ladder gash him open.
Yep.
And that dude, I have nothing but respect and all that for him. But as far as Drew McIntyre goes, I don't think he will be at Wembley Stadium. I have a sneaking suspicion that as the contract comes closer to up, he'll realize that like he has a pretty good thing in WWE, and trying to possibly start over in a new company where he might not make as much money. You know, at this point in his career, I mean, he ain't spring chicken anymore. And I still think, in my view, WWE owes him like a WrestleMania main event.
I don't know about a WrestleMania main event, but I will say that they definitely owe him a title reign in front of the fans. They really, I've been saying this since September. They've dropped the ball with Drew McIntyre when they didn't put the title on him at Clash of the Castle, and I'm convinced that that's part of what's caused.
What they should have done at Clash at the Castle was have it be for like the Universal title, or if they wanted to keep Roman with the Universal title so he had the continuous amount of days streak going, get for the WWE title. So Drew wins the WWE title, and then you can, you know, work it that way. And they could have figured out a way to make it so Roman looks strong still while losing the WWE title.
Right.
But that was not the direction they went. And, you know, we're here where we are today, but I think they will end up getting a deal done with Drew, and I don't think we're going to see him at Wembley Stadium with AEW.
Okay. I don't either. I don't think he's going to be at All In Wembley. I think they're going to get it done with him. I think he's going to get a contract. He's too valuable of a guy. I mean, hell, they had the best match at WrestleMania in my mind. So, but I mean, we did talk about the championship reigns. Yeah. Especially because they're Roman's reigns. See what I did there?
You know what? You know what? I know we're going to talk about this later on in the show. I made some special post. The Brainless One made a special post yesterday about a certain epic thing in professional wrestling. Yesterday, 3,000 days. Curtis Axel has been alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. I went through a lot of our old shows and compiled, a handful of clips from them to showcase the wonders of F&Mark's Hall of Famer Curtis Axel.
Jay, I'm just going to say this. When you texted me earlier in the week and said that you had something special set up and everything, and you showed me the original thing, and then you showed me the final project, and I remember I was like, is it as good as the Monsoon the Gorillas? And you said, I think so. You absolutely outdid yourself, and I loved the Monsoon the Gorillas. I've watched it at least 60 times. But do you know what the view total is on the Curtis Axel thing?
I do not.
Before I went on there, 735 people. Granted, I was probably about 400 of those 735 views, but 735 views on that. I know we had at least a dozen yesterday on the YouTube page. We had a dozen on at least the Twitter page. We had like 20 or 30 on Instagram. You got about 800 people that tuned into that video.
And I wanted to showcase, specifically when I posted it on Twitter and tagged the Curtis Axel, that like this was not a one-time, one-off thing for us. It's been an ongoing thing. I think I took a soundbite from an episode that we did in 2016, which actually I think was from the episode that we did the preview of an NXT takeover. I think it was the one in Toronto where Asuka was going against Mickie James.
Wow.
So I took a sound from that. I took a sound bite from episode 29 and took a couple of things from, I think, like 2017, 2018. I think there was 2020, 2021, 22, and 23. There was a little gap there because some of the episodes I don't know if I have access to get to them anymore, which is a little. But anyway, I'm just. I was very glad to be able to find what I was able to find and put what I was able to put together. And the keyboards that were on that, like I was actually recording other stuff or trying to figure other stuff out. And I was like going, oh, wait, boo, 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 boo. And I figured out how to play it. And I'm like, I'm going to record this. And then
everything was fantastic, Jay. You knocked it out of the park like David Ortiz in a clutch situation. It was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was excellent, Jay. And we are going to mention it later on in the podcast.
The memes were great.
Yeah. I in a week where I did not have a problem dropping down, to a lesser, I definitely wanted you to take the spotlight this week because you absolutely you killed it. You absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
There were,
Thank you, sir.
Of course, sir. I will say there were a couple of memes that really got me to chuckle. But since we did mention it, when I got the notification that he liked our tweet that you sent, I almost screamed like a schoolgirl. I was like, oh, I'm like, and this is from somebody I've been responded to by Jim Ross. I've been responded to by Shawn Michaels. Chris Jericho, Steve Austin, two guys on my Rushmore.
Yeah.
I I have my history with Stevie Richards, obviously, but that one meant the most to me because you and I both know, and I don't know if a lot of people do know this who watch this podcast, the only human being who's appeared on more episodes of the F and Marks podcast than Jay and I is Curtis Axel.
True.
He's been in 307 of the 308 episodes. We only missed him once.
Yeah. Technical issues that day.
Yeah. And that was the only reason we missed him.
Ball.
Right. Otherwise, he'd be a perfect 308 for 308.
Yeah.
But so we got, there was the talk of the draft.
Yeah.
And Triple H came out on SmackDown this past week and said that the draft's going to take place sometime in the future. It looks like it's going to take place on the Raw after WrestleMania Backlash. So that'll be 2 nights after Backlash. And apparently, the rumor going around is that they're going to make Roman's championships into one and unify them into one championship. And then whatever show Roman's not on, they will get their own. That's just a rumor.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't hear this from Tree Sap Ross. Otherwise, I would definitely,
I mean that. I guess that's one way to make Roman look continually strong. He doesn't lose a title.
Yep.
But you won't be able to call him undisputed anymore. But Paul Heyman will make it work.
Oh yeah.
One way or another. So. I think that's not the worst idea out there that they could do. But as far as a draft goes, I mean, who do you possibly see them switching brands with? Like, clearly, Roman is going to stay on SmackDown. SmackDown is on a network television show. Network.
I understand, but they've been calling Raw the flagship show for 30 some odd years now. And, Vince keeps that as and Roman was on Raw for the longest time, even before they even moved. I think right before they moved to Friday nights. And they wanted The Fiend. They wanted Bray Wyatt. They wanted Brock Lesnar. If they're going to do it, if you're going to switch Roman Reigns off of SmackDown, because the rumor I did hear about him, that's how they're going to drop the belts, also said he was moving to Raw. And if they do move him to Raw, I'm sorry, the only suitable person that can move to SmackDown is Seth Rollins. That's the only way. Nothing against Cody Rhodes, but if you move Roman to Raw, you can kind of, move along on this thing if you really want Cody to be the one to take the title or both titles or a single title or any title off of Roman. They should be on the same show. If you really want to do this, the only name big enough, because Brock Lesnar's not a full-timer, is Seth Rollins. And frankly, Franklin, he should be the one that gets the other championship if it's not Cody Rhodes.
I agree. I mean, Seth has been, even when he lost to Cody, he got himself over more.
Yeah.
And everything he's done in the past couple of years, I long complained about they would give Seth Rollins monikers, but I didn't think that he had much of a character. It wasn't until about the time when he became the Monday Night Messiah, all of a sudden there was really a character there. Like, they called him the Architect. They called him the Kingslayer. And that's just, okay, he beat Triple H. That's a moniker. That is not a character.
Okay, he founded the Shield. He formed the Shield, so we get the fact that he is the Architect.
But that doesn't make it a character thing. But from Monday Night Messiah to like the things he's done in the past couple of years, finally he has embraced character.
Yeah.
In much the same way that in the past couple of years, Sami Zayn, who is known as a great mechanic and in-ring worker, has become a hell of an all-around performer. but in my view, Seth, he's just kind of done it longer on a bit higher of a level.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as Sammy's hotter in kind of right now than Seth, but Seth is a dude that you could certainly build off of just because he has, because he has a longer tenure on the main roster.
Yeah.
I think as much as Sammy is more hot right now, I think the base of people who have an appreciation for Seth Rollins is probably broader and longer just because he's been a main roster dude for 10 years.
Yeah, easily. And again, like you said, it's not a slight on Sami Zayn because he figured it out. He got really hot over the last year. And I will say this, he was definitely one of those guys who could talk. And I remember a few years ago when he started doing the
when he became
kind of like
sure.
Yeah.
Of like Mora.
When he became like the whatever, he was like kind of like Fidel Castro type.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when I found out, he was like only one of like maybe a handful or less of people who are, not scripted. They were like, here, just do whatever you could do. And he got creative control over himself. Ever since they did that, he kind of really took off. He really embraced it. I remember last year when they did the thing with him and Brock Lesnar, and I loved what they did with him and Brock Lesnar. It was fantastic. Sami Zayn over the last couple of years has been extremely entertaining to me. And he's definitely in my top 3, probably in WWE right now.
Yeah,
he's that good, and and him losing, and not just real quickly, him losing to Jey Uso. I know there was shenanigans involved with it, but him losing as the half of the tag team champions on Friday in a singles match, when I could have pulled strings and said, well, that was a makeshift tag team that took the titles from the longest reigning tag team in WWE, but it's Sammy and KO, so we overlook it. So the tag team competitor on Friday gets the better edge of the singles competitor, but I'm not going to do that. But because they've done some other booking decisions this week that I really hated. But Timmy had said
specifically, if they do that idea that you're talking about where, they fuse the titles together and end up making a different championship, possibly having Gunther as the person with the other title. I think it's that I would possibly have with that is you got 2 heels as champions. It is not the end of the world. Seth is just Seth Rollins, and people cheer him because they are entertained as hell by him.
Yeah, and honestly, I the only thing I would have with it is that September 7th would be the exact date of when Gunther surpassed the Honky Tonk Man as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. And I said, yes, the Honkometer. I don't think they'll ever do that, but, because Gunther's a little, more serious about it.
Santino.
Right. But honestly, I think you got to do it after, like they did at the Clash at the Castle, where they didn't pull the trigger with Roman Reigns dropping one of the belts or both belts to Drew McIntyre. Gunther should have dropped the belts at WrestleMania, so either Drew or Sheamus. Obviously Sheamus for me, but at the end of the day, I wasn't mad about the booking decision. But if he's going to be the Intercontinental Champion, I'd rather him beat the Honky Tonk Man. Only because it might bring out the Honky Tonk Man maybe the week or two before it happens, just to see Gunther chop him and the Honky Tonk Man never shows up again. Not to say that I never want to see the Honky Tonk Man, but because I enjoyed the Honky Tonk Man growing up as a kid, but
The Honky Tonk Man, I've seen people describe him and like he did as little in the ring as possible as far as physicality, but did so much to get the crowd to hate him. Like, the heat that dude had, I think is hard for people who weren't alive back then to fathom.
Right.
Honky Tonk Man was detested.
Mm-hmm.
When he and the Honkettes and Greg the Hammer Valentine and Jimmy the Mouth of South Hart were at WrestleMania 6, and they did Honka 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 Love. Like, he's out there playing it up like he is the greatest thing of all time.
Right.
And the crowd hated him and hated the song even more. It was great. It was great.
What legend would I bring back to give LA Knight a rub? If they were going to do it, they would have done it with Steve Austin at WrestleMania. I don't think, at this point, I don't even think LA Knight really needs the extra rub from any of the legends. He's gotten, they were talking about it, with The Fiend. How everybody who has feuded with The Fiend since Bray Wyatt became The Fiend has come out looking like shit. He came back, wrestled LA Knight, and LA Knight's almost freaking Sami Zayn hot right now. People were pissed. Yeah, let me talk to you. Yeah. But people were pissed that he didn't show up at WrestleMania. He's over.
He did not win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. The chance night in LA that weekend were off the fucking charts.
And I really do think he's going to end, unless it's somebody stupid like Logan Paul, like they did last year with Austin Theory. I really do see LA Knight as the one that wins Money in the Bank this year. It's either him or Gunther. That's my call as of right now, but a lot can change between now and then. But
speaking of Paul, Logan Paul just re-signed with WWE, allegedly a multi-year deal, although that's what we heard before, even though his deal expired at WrestleMania. But it sounds like it's a 3-year deal, and Logan Paul saying he would like to be a champion in WWE. If he signed a 3-year deal, I hope that he has at least as many dates as Roman Reigns if he wants to be a champion. If he doesn't plan on showing up as much as Roman, he does not deserve a title.
He's got to be like Edge. When Edge won the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, when he was on his 3 appearances a year contract, and Edge was like, well, if I'm the number 1 contender, I need to be there pretty much almost every week. I don't need to see Logan Paul. He just has to be somewhere in between what Roman Reigns is doing and what Brock Lesnar was doing.
Right.
He's got to show up more than maybe a handful of time. If he shows up for all the pay-per-views and maybe a Raw or a SmackDown or 2 a month, I'm on board with it. If he wants to be a champion. Because I do feel in my heart of hearts it's going to happen. Now, when I say that, I don't mean it as in he doesn't deserve it, because the dude has been busting his ass. I've been talking about how good Logan Paul is in the ring since last year's WrestleMania. And his match with Roman Reigns was off the charts. His match with Seth Rollins this year was damn good. He gets the biz. He's got all the tools. He's just a really skinny dude. That's all he is. He doesn't look like a Roman Reigns, and he doesn't look like a Braun Strowman. I mean, and I know Cody Rhodes doesn't look like those guys, but Cody Rhodes looks like he can go with just about anybody.
But the thing with Logan Paul is, he did have the match with Roman Reigns, and he didn't look totally out of his league. He looks smaller, but he didn't look out of his league.
Agreed.
Separate note, but related. Jake Paul is going against Nate Diaz, man.
Damn. I paid whatever it was for the Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather shit, and I could pay 3 times that amount to watch Nate Diaz and Jake Paul and shit.
In a boxing match and shit, man. 8 rounds, 10-ounce gloves and shit, man.
Interesting. I think that's great. I think it has a capability. I'm just curious to see how Nate Diaz transitions into the boxing ring.
Right.
And Chris Brown had said something about between Bad Bunny and Logan Paul, who do I think deserves a title reign between the two of them first?
It's Logan
Oh,
Paul.
it's got to be
Bad
Logan Paul.
Bunny is going to be around, I think, on a regular enough basis to get a title. Like, if they still had the 24/7 championship, I could see Bad Bunny winning something like that. I don't see him winning an IC title. I don't see him winning a U.S. title, but I think he enjoys wrestling. He enjoys the spectacle of it, and he doesn't need it at
Right.
all. Like, he does fine on his own as being the I think outside of The Weeknd, Bad Bunny is like the most listened to and highest grossing performer as far as somebody like on Spotify and what have you these days. He doesn't
Number
need
one.
WWE. He loves it.
He's numero uno.
Yeah.
That was somebody had mentioned it. Like, it is really good for WWE, considering the fact that the most popular and most the highest earning musician in all of music right now is a wrestling fan. I want to say it was El Jefe or El Jefe that actually mentioned it. That it was one of those two that mentioned it. And I'll tell you, WWE has benefited over the years of having fans like LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal and the Snooper Doop. I mean, look at what Snoop did at WrestleMania. Freddie Prinze Jr.
Like him or hate him, Kid Rock.
Kid Rock, yep. Seth Green. Jeremy, I mean, I'm still convinced Jeremy Piven is, because you don't just show up on Raw unless you really are a wrestling fan. Unless you're Drew Carey.
Summerfest.
Yeah. Summerfest. Oh, or what was his name? The guy who used to do the Daily Show, Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's another one who's a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah, when he turned heel, what was it? Was it on Cena at SummerSlam?
He helped Seth Rollins win the United States Championship from Super Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. I think it's going to be Logan Paul. I mean, would I be surprised that Bad Bunny ended up winning the Universal Championship? No, nothing surprises me anymore, Jay. No, nothing surprises me in WWE anymore. I've seen it all.
I would see, honestly, Bad Bunny possibly as a short-term tag team champion over anything else. But, again, I think Logan Paul, if it is a true 3-year contract, I think somewhere within that 3 years he will win a title.
Oh, and that when he wins that belt, you know that heat is going to be nuclear. It's going to be just, oh my goodness.
And if he does not end up winning a title belt, what would be more annoying than King Paul?
The thought of Logan Paul being the one holding up the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. At that point, you might as well just retire the match, because I will never watch it again.
But that is an actual, it's just a trophy with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and Logan Paul is clearly beyond that as far as something like that. Him having the King's crown and being an annoying asshole, I mean, is right up his alley.
And you know that if it does happen, I actually want that to happen now that I think about it. I want to see King Logan Paul win the King of the Ring at Night of Champions or Clash of the Champions or whatever they're going to call it in Saudi Arabia, only because I know the coronation is going to include his brother Jake. And there's not going to be two human beings on planet Earth that are standing in a wrestling ring together with one of them wearing a crown that get more heat than those two.
Yeah. I was, in my brain, I was like going, what would be more detested worldwide? The Paul brothers in the ring or the Young Bucks. The Paul brothers against the Young Bucks as a match.
Jay, the only thing that I could think of that I would detest more is if WWE actually put Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame. That's really the only thing I could think of that would be more detesting. But then again, if Kenny Omega fights the blow-up doll in Wembley, that might be another thing that I would have to say would be worse in the ring.
I'm going to give Tony Khan the benefit of the doubt. He will not let that happen. I could be sadly mistaken, but I'm pretty sure there is enough of a brain in there for him not to do that.
Maybe not at Wembley Stadium, but I think we have a better chance of watching Kenny Omega fight the blow-up doll in AEW than we do of seeing Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame.
I think that's a true statement.
I think it's more likely that we see Kenny Omega fight a blow-up doll in AEW than we see Kenny Omega wrestle in WWE. I'm not going to even get into that. But we did talk about booking things.
Yeah.
And I saw something this morning, and I needed to bring this to your attention.
Okay.
Because it was on – because I'm on Reddit. I actually love Reddit. I've been sucked into it. It's a freaking sand trap and a black hole and an amoeba altogether, and it's very good, very evil. But somebody had posted, and I had to mention this to you. They said, and I quote, Vince McMahon putting both championships on Roman Reigns at last year's WrestleMania was the worst booking decision Vince McMahon has ever done.
No. He's done many things worse.
And I'm glad you said that because, right here, I actually have my top 10 list right here. The top 10 things, they're the top 10 dumber ideas of Vince McMahon putting both the WWE and Universal Championships on Roman Reigns. Real quickly, number 10, the Black Scorpion. Wait, no, that wasn't Vince. That was WCW. I meant to say the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon. Number 9, that mustache. Number 8.
That was a bad booking decision.
Yes. It gets better, Jay. Number 8, great.
Man.
What? The
dastardly Vince McMahon.
Dastardly. Instead of dashing Cody Rhodes, we have dastardly Vince McMahon. I love it. Number 8, great balls of fire. Number 7, I take this one to heart very much so. Number 7, Fandango beating Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29. Oh my God. You know what's funny, Chris Brown? I actually had the mustache at number 2, but I bumped it to 9 because I put 9 and said no. 9 should be number 2, so I bumped the mustache out of number 2, which is funny. Number 6, Goldberg beating The Fiend for the Universal Championship in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Number 5, and I can tell you right now, I know you're going to agree with this one, and there's one person who has worked for WWE in the past who would agree. Number 5, the Red Rooster.
Still
number
WWE, by the way.
Yes, he is. Terrence Taylor still works at the Performance Center. I know I'm definitely going to get an argument out of you from this one. Number 4, the Stairs match.
I still want to see a stairs match between Bobby Lashley and the Beast, Brock Lesnar. We did not get a final culmination of that feud. We got a shitty cop-out end of it. I'm just going to say we should have gotten the stairs match, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch stairs match at WrestleMania. Instead, we got poor Bobby Lashley being able to stand next to a trophy at WrestleMania. He deserved better.
Yes, I agree. And Timmy, that's a hell of a one. I forgot about the I versus I match that they did a couple years ago.
That shit show.
Yeah. Number 3.
We had a podcast. Like, there is no way there is a good ending to this. This is going to be terrible.
Jay, we dedicated 2 podcasts to that because we did the predictions and said that, and then the recap, we talked about it, and it was terrible both times. If there was 2 episodes of the if there was 2 episodes that I refused to watch back and back, it's those 2 episodes. The predictions for the Eye for an Eye and the recap from it. But number 3, another one that I hold near and dear to my heart, turning Elias into Ezekiel. Yeah. It's that bad. I left them speechless, folks. Jay. Cousin Jay. To this day, I still have nightmares of Cousin Larry walking down to the ring to confront Kevin Owens, and he said, "Elias, is that you?" That was one of the very few times in my life as a wrestling fan where my heart literally sunk into my stomach because I didn't know what to say. I was very sad, and I turned off Raw. As soon as he called him Elias, I turned off Raw, and I didn't watch it. I was like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was only number 3. Number 2, the thing that bumped the mustache from the number 2 spot was hiring Vince Russo. And would you like to take a guess at what the number 1 worst decision than Roman Reigns getting both titles from Vince McMahon was?
Based off of what I know of Brainless One history, I'm going with Stone Cold Steve Austin siding with Vince McMahon.
That never happened, Jay, because I stopped watching wrestling after it happened, so it never happened. But I will say this. It is something that has been mentioned many a times on the podcast, and it is a very, very obvious choice, more so than it being an obvious brainless choice.
I mean, Katie Vick. Yeah.
Katie Vick was the number 1 thing. And I've been saying it. I thought it was stupid that they put both titles on Roman last year, and this was even because they put the belts on him before he came part-time. But now that they have both on him and they have this obsession with him surpassing all the championships reigns of all the champions, he's going to pass Pedro Morales. He's apparently I could see him passing Bruno's second reign. That should be, I think it was around SummerSlam or right before SummerSlam. He passes that. There's no way he's passing Bruno. There's no way he's going to be Universal Champion in 2028. Championship that he won in 2020. No.
Right.
If they carried that on until 2028, you might as well just kiss wrestling goodbye because nobody's going to be watching. But
all right, Chris Brown is saying the worst booking decision would be Kevin Dunn being hired than Vince Russo. See, the thing that this is the Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan argument all over again. Kevin Dunn has had a longer tenure of shitdom than Vince Russo. Vince Russo, has his podcast and says stupid things a lot. And, he had a career in WCW. he spent many years in TNA. We can't blame that on Vince. We could kind of sort of blame it on Vince, because without Vince doesn't exist in other planes. But in the multiverse of madness that has been created by Vince McMahon, that was not a Vince booking decision per se. Shaky cam is not a Vince decision, although he has made tacit approval of shaky cam by the Bucktooth Beaver.
Again, we do not know that the reason that the cam is shaky because he's watching damn porn, okay? There could be reasonable explanations. He could have hit his head against a log, or he was watching a video.
The log most weeks while watching the show, and it just happened to happen whenever there was a time of people beating somebody down where you got to zoom in and out and you got to move up and down really fast because, oh, by the way, it makes it look so good.
Yeah. Well, between that and the freaking panning to the crowd at the absolute worst possible time. Oh my God, Edge is coming out.
Edge returning from a 9-year hiatus.
I don't need to see.
We see AJ Styles making his debut at the Royal Rumble. We need to see the crowd. It has nothing to do with the performer. Nothing.
Now, hold on.
Don't need to see Dolph Ziggler taking the first spear in the last 9 years from Edge. And oh, by the way, the man who said, I think it was Tim who sent it to me, that Dolph says that wrestlers in general do not sell it like they're supposed to, and he includes himself. Oh, by the way, Dolph selling the spear from Goldberg, what was it, SummerSlam 2019, Dolph Ziggler selling the spear of a returning Edge at Royal Rumble. Two of the greatest sells of all time.
Dolph Ziggler's the GOAT of selling.
Does not sell well enough. I think he's holding himself to the Shawn Michaels SummerSlam 2005 level.
See,
and nobody can live up to that.
I have to make that.
Michaels could live up to that.
I want to make a graph of that, like the graph of the selling levels, where it's either Shawn Michaels SummerSlam 05 or John Cena SummerSlam 2010.
Right.
Of selling. Or AEW, period.
Or Hulk Hogan from 1984 to Hulk Hogan 19 I don't know what would you say, like Hulk Hogan 1990?
Jeez, how long has Hulk Hogan been wrestling since? I mean, come on, even WrestleMania 7, when he was hulking up under the freaking bloodied Iraqi flag and he ripped it up. I mean, come on, you want to talk about over? I mean, that's just. I mean, Hulk Hogan's made a career out of overselling.
Brother.
What should be my next top 10 list? The top 10 best sellers, or the top 10 times Hogan oversold? I'm open to suggestions for top 10 lists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Timmy just said Dolph Ziggler is the best example of pulling the trigger on the title change while somebody is hot. The only reason I would say 10 best sellers. Okay. The only reason I would say it wasn't because he vacated the title because he had the concussion.
Well, he ended up losing it to Del Rio.
That's right.
He got the concussion. It's weird. He did an interview a few weeks ago where he talked about how him being in general, healthy as a performer, in some ways has hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple times he actually got like injured, hurt, where he had to be away for a few weeks. It's like one of those times happened to be right after he cashed in and won that title with Vicky Guerrero and Big E by his side. That crowd was freaking electric.
Yep.
And they should have figured out a way to keep the title on him for longer.
I agree.
And let him heal, but Vince wouldn't let that happen.
It's amazing how he pulls the trigger on, taking the title off of somebody like that, but, he'll let somebody else hold it on for a little bit longer. It was like that thing with Naomi a few years ago where she had to vacate the title because she wasn't going to defend it in the 30 days. Meanwhile, Brock's over in Manitoba holding the Universal Championship that he hadn't wrestled and defended since, like, SummerSlam.
Right.
So, it depends on how Vince feels about you at that time. Speaking of Vince, apparently there is some new clauses in his contract that he signed after the deal with Endeavor. There is a code of conduct and a non-harassment policy in his contract. So if he does any of that stuff.
Now, there is not any specific thing named in the contract about what the punishment is. The fact that there is a code of conduct thing for Vince, I feel a little bit better. Although, one thing I'll say about this, most of the things that came out about Vince in the past, year and a half, most of it, not all of it, but most of it happened like a decade plus ago. So if Vince does something really stupid right now, he has enough money. Now he has an extra several $1 billion in his bank account that he could pay people to shut up.
Yeah.
All that being said, the fact that the company is still going to be a publicly traded thing and Vince is not going to be, where the buck stops.
Right.
I think this will actually have at least a little bit of teeth where if Vince does something stupid beyond growing a mustache that looks crazy and, deciding that he needs to go to a shoe polish company that also does hair dyeing, they're not that into account, but they're going to hold into the account if he, uses his power to get favored as far as taking advantage of people in ways they shouldn't be.
Maybe what Vince should have done was he should have just had Jerry McDivitt pay the $19 million to these people, just like, Trump paid his lawyer to shut up Stormy Daniels, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I know he's got a lot of money, but you got to think that if he's going to do something stupid like that, he's going to do it again. Look, I'm sorry.
A leopard doesn't change its spots. A zebra doesn't change its stripes. As much as I think there are things inherent in people that, like, they can change, I don't think overall Vince thinks anything he's done has been overtly wrong. And because he doesn't believe those things are overtly wrong, I think he is prone to repeat himself.
Right. It's like, and I your analogy is great. I think you hit the nail right in the head. And oh God, he's gonna go out the way of Herb Abrams.
B. Brian Blair, Iron Sheik's second favorite professional wrestler, I think, said it best. He died, you know, with hookers and blood. I think it's how he wanted to go. Vince is gonna go out how he goes out.
Yes. Speaking of Iron Sheik saying that about B. Brian Blair and Herb Abrams. Dark Side of the... I can't wait. This was my favorite thing to mention today. Dark Side of the Ring Season 4. One of my favorite shows now, Dark Side of the Ring. Season 4 comes out May 30th with a whole new season. And the leaked stories that have been announced that they're going to cover Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch, which I can't wait for that one. They're going to talk about the Magnum TA accident, which I don't really know too much about Magnum TA. I know very, very little just from what you've told me and what I've heard from other, from wrestlers and documentaries and everything. So I'm really excited to actually watch that one. They're going to do an Abdullah the Butcher episode. Boy, is that going to be a fun one. And in an episode that I'm really not surprised they're going to do, because I said it was going to eventually happen, Marty Jannetty. Oh, and
Dude,
Mike
West admitted to possibly killing somebody.
Yeah.
How don't you do a Dark Side of the Ring about Marty Jannetty?
And apparently Bam Bam Bigelow and Mike Awesome should have episodes as well. They're just rumored. They're not confirmed. Those first 4 stories have been confirmed by the Dark Side of the Ring creators that those 4 stories are definitely going to be in it. And then then it was just the rumors of Mike Awesome and Bam Bam Bigelow. Are you kidding me? They could not. I said this after season 1. I said, I can't wait to see what they come up with season 2. Then they came out with the episodes for season 2, and I was like, boy, this was great. I was like, I don't know how they're going to match this in season 3. Season 3 was really good.
Well, and I think part of the problem, like, season 3 was good. Part of the problem with season 3 is they had so many episodes, and they had juicy stories they could do, but, like, when you try to fit in more stories in the same amount of time, you can't do them as well. And they ended up burning a couple of bridges with people who, are in the wrestling industry and in the know about things that have happened and what have you. But even so, I think the show tries to get it right. I mean, I'm always amazed with the fact that they will have folks where they do things to blur it out, but you end up getting somebody who looks like they have the same build, same physique, same hair as the person. Like, they do such a good job of getting this extra footage in there to really enhance the storytelling of this. I like the truth coming to light and them exposing kind of the crappy side of professional wrestling, but it's just the stories are so interesting and captivating, it's hard to ignore. I appreciate the fact that they decided that they were going to do Tales from the Territories to shine the light on, not the not so dark side, but the more fun side of things. But I think it's good to expose the truth, show everything that has gone on in professional wrestling. And I even come down on the Vince stuff, specifically with the Snuka stuff, where people should know this and make their own decisions about it. And whether or not they decide they want to keep tuning into Vince, his mustache, and the blood money from Saudi Arabia. I mean, like I've said several times, like I've been on the fence of like, am I going to keep watching this? I think in general, Vince McMahon is at about 50.1% of doing positive stuff and about 49.9% of doing negative stuff.
Yep.
And
that's fair. That is a
and
fair assessment.
and if he does something beyond what he's done, where I'm like going, what the ever living hell?
Yep.
I'll be done. But we move forward, but I'd rather move forward knowing the background and the truth, or at least something closer to the truth than kind of the stuff that ends up getting buried and acting like it never happened.
I applaud the creators for Dark Side of the Ring. And like you said, just because they have done both shows, because they do the Tales from the Territories as well, but they shine the light on the Bruiser Brody story. I mean, nobody knew what the hell happened for like decades with him in Puerto Rico. Right. People still talked about Dino Bravo and what happened with him. They shined the light on that. They painted the picture of the Owen Hart situation. And honestly, it's not even just like all the bad stuff that they got from this. I mean, look at Herb Abrams. Abrams was nobody. Nobody knew who he was. And now everybody loves Herb Abrams, and he's been dead for like 20 years.
Hookers and blow.
But like, and on the flip side, but like, look at the Tales from the Territory and what that did for everybody. It shined a light on what that Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler, which in my opinion was the greatest storyline in wrestling history. I'm sorry. You cannot top that just because of what Andy Kaufman was able to bring to the ring. And that whole story just coming to the surface and getting the spotlight that it deserved. And to hear about, Ken Patera and some of the stories about him and B. Brian Blair. Yeah. And Medusa. And because, like, there was all these people that you saw in episodes of The Dark Side of the Ring. I'm like, man, I feel bad for this person. Like the one they did on Fabulous Moolah. I'm glad they brought, oh, man, I forget what her name was, but she was one of the girls from the Medusa, from the, the Fabulous Moolah episode. She came in and they actually let her talk and everything. You find out a little bit more about Piper. You find out a little bit more about World Class and all these other wrestling organizations. And I think that that's a good balance between the two shows to kind of show both sides of the spectrum when it comes to professional wrestling behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because, like, you find out from the Dark Side of the Ring that Herb Abrams was a crazy son of a bitch, but you also find out from Tales of the Territory, so was Mad Dog Vachon.
Right.
But I like both shows. I think two of my favorite things in the entire world are documentaries and professional wrestling. And if you combine both,
right,
I'm sold. So kudos on them for that.
All right. Where do we want to go to next?
Well, there's one thing outside of WWE and AEW that I did want to mention that happened last night, and that was on Impact. I know it doesn't get a lot of love on this podcast, but anytime I can give Impact or New Japan or any of the other wrestling organizations outside of the two main ones, I'm going to. But Mickie James last night on Impact relinquished the Knockouts Championship, and it will be determined in a one-on-one match between Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace.
And that's going to happen at Rebellion this weekend on pay-per-view. Oh, by the way, they have sold out tickets for that show in Toronto. Now, it's not a ginormous venue based off of kind of estimates, 3,000 tickets. But I'll just say, back in the day, TNA, when they were still getting like 1.5 million people viewing their television show every week, they had a hard time selling any venue out. So, television viewership is not always the pulse of how well an organization is booking or how well they're doing. The fact that the last 5 events that TNA has held as a live event, they've sold out. Again, this is a few thousand tickets. This is not a stadium by any means, but good on them for selling out this venue and creating enough buzz to do something. It sucks that Mickie James, who this was part of her last rodeo, and they left it very
vague
whether this was the end, which I'm going to say this is not the end for her, because she said, next time I lose, I'm done. She didn't lose. She got injured and is relinquishing the title because, hey, they're doing a pay-per-view and she is not healthy enough to perform.
They did set, and I think this is incredible. They announced it on Impact. This is the first time in company history that they are guaranteed a new Impact World Champion and a new Knockouts Champion in the same night. It's never happened before in Impact Wrestling. Because I forget, Steve, Brandon, Jay, one of the Cutlers is fighting Kushida.
Right.
Because Josh Alexander is also dealing with an injury.
Right.
But I had to mention it because it is Mickie James.
Yeah. And she cut a really solid promo in an empty arena talking about that. She actually left her hat in the ring, which, again, that was the idea of like going, oh, this is the end of the end. I don't think it's the end of the end. And this is me as a sometimes betting person. Not only will we see her back in Impact Wrestling, I think we will see her at some point possibly having a final WWE match.
I agree.
Certainly a final, a Hall of Fame induction in WWE.
A well-deserving Hall of Fame induction, mind you. And how, I mean, think about this. Trish Stratus and Lita were just on Raw this week, and they're both, they both wrestled at the same time Mickie James started in WWE.
Trish and Lita are both 47 years old. I think Mickie is just a few years younger.
Yeah.
But not too far off.
So Chris Brown had asked, do you see with the merger WWE continuing to charge $10 a month on Peacock and then charging $30 for the premium live events, kind of like what UFC does with their thing?
The current deal that they have with Peacock lasts through 2026. I don't see them screwing with that. Peacock specifically can decide that they're going to charge more. You don't need to do the $10 a month for Peacock. It's $4.99 to.
I know, it's the best thing ever.
Do Peacock. I don't see them changing that between now and 2026.
No, I don't either.
26, I'm going to say that all bets are off. They could go to the old model, but I think this is one of those things where it's kind of hard after the chicken's out of the egg to put the egg back together. I think they'll have a hard time selling that to people and a hard time with that model, because there was never a time with UFC where they had a $5 pay-per-view. Never.
Right. I'll say this.
A very long time now at this point of having a $10 or $5 pay-per-view with WWE. I think it's really hard to go back to that. And if you go back to the old pay-per-view model, you're also, instead of getting all those dollars directly to you, it's a cable company or it's Bleacher Report, and they're taking part of that revenue stream from you. So instead of, let's say, getting 3 million subscribers a month, let's say whether it's the Peacock or the WWE network, when you're talking about the worldwide thing, you might get a couple 100,000.
Right.
Is that revenue stream going to be as good since it's indirect and somebody else is taking a piece of your pie? I'm going to say in the end, the answer is no. So I don't think the genie's going back in the bottle. I think Endeavor is smart enough to know that won't work.
I'll say this, Timmy. I'm kind of with you on the pay-per-view thing if they do that. Now, if they do the $30, yes, I'll probably still get WrestleMania every year because it's WrestleMania. I'll probably still get the Royal Rumble every year, but that's probably it. Because I remember you and I talked about this years ago. You mentioned it many a times when we talked about the network when it was $10. And you were like, the network is the smartest thing because they're going to get $10 a month from everybody, and you're going to get the pay-per-views. Because, yes, you're going to get everybody who's still going to buy WrestleMania every year and the people who's still going to buy the Royal Rumble and SummerSlam. But it's like you're not going to get those people, the same people who buy the WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble are not going to get Extreme Rules and Unforgiven.
Right.
So I agree. I don't see them going back into what they were, going into what UFC was doing, especially after what they've been doing. And I'll tell you right now, even if they leave Peacock, I'm still going to give them the $5 a month. I pay $5 a month to get Sheamus, I get Ron Swanson, and I get Dwight Schrute. I don't need anything else for $5 a month. Hell, I'd pay $5 a month just for Ron Swanson. Let's be serious. Yeah? But I think it'd be a stupid business decision to go back to that format because you're not going to make the money on it. And all you're going to do is piss off people in the process.
Very true.
Since we did
Monday Night Raw, a heel turn that we all saw coming from a mile away, and has been touted about for quite a while. We officially got Trish Stratus turning heel, helping Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez win the Women's Tag Team Championships. But we are setting up for something coming down the road, allegedly happening at SummerSlam between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. They clearly wanted to keep Becky as a face, and we have the first time in quite a while, Trish Stratus as a heel. Yes, and I have so much I want to talk about with that. Really quickly, for me, it's Ron and it's Chris Traeger. They're my two favorite characters on the show. And I love Donna Meagle. She is the more I watch that show, I love Donna Meagle. And April is literally Wednesday Addams, but in a modern setting. And Brainless Wife and I have come to the conclusion that we are the living, like the real life Andy Dwyer and April Ludgate. Okay. But I have so much that I need to. Okay. So. Let her out. So at WrestleMania weekend, we had the Women's Tag Team Showcase, which, agree, they're all really good characters, Timmy, which they had 4 tag teams. Raquel and Liv Morgan were in that match, and they lost. Why are they getting a title shot 8 days later? The Street Profits won their match at WrestleMania Night 1. And then 48 hours later got a tag team, or not even a tag team title match. They fought the tag team champions 2 nights later and lost in the non-title match. And you and I destroyed that last week. So I have
to tee off on this because I don't get it. What is it? I know that I know that you have your good intentions with the tag team championships for the women, but you kind of napalmed that and you should have gotten rid of that instead of the 24/7 championship. Because to me, the 24/7 championship was more important for the entire lock. I mean, hell, look at R-Truth.
The GOAT.
R-Truth carried that championship, and he did more for it than any of the women's tag team champions have done in the 4+ years since they brought those championships in. Because you had...
Moment, R-Truth, allegedly, according to himself, is coming back soon. Carry on.
Real quickly, do you think he asked for a Make-A-Wish from John Cena?
Yes.
Okay. I had to ask. Because they should really do that. They should be like, all right, John, you're here to see somebody called Ron. I'm here to see Ron. All right, let's see him. Oh, my God, it's my favorite wrestler, John Cena. I would die. It would be my mark-out moment of the year because it's still up for grabs now. But you have one of the teams lose, and then they get the title shot. Not even the team that won the match. One of the teams that lost, which is a makeshift team who really wasn't seeing eye to eye with each other not too long ago, if I remember correctly. And now they're the tag team champions. And then, like you said, even Stevie Wonder would have seen that heel turn coming from Trish Stratus. And it seems like WWE is going about with this, I'm going to attack, and then we're going to have people run and see who attacked them and act like, who attacked them? Well, I knew it. Just because we couldn't see him, it doesn't mean it was John Cena. We knew it was Trish. And this whole thing with them, with the tag team champions, I don't have a tag team partner, but I'm gonna defend it. And then Trish Stratus is like, I'll help you defend the titles. You're not the Fabulous Freebirds and you're not the New Day. They're getting too lax with some of
the bloodline.
They could do that with the bloodline. That's fine because they're
filled in. He was the honorarius who helped continue the tag team championship reign of the bloodline.
But even if Sammy wasn't in there and they did Solo or Roman, I would have zero issue with it. But the fact is, they're just getting very lax with these rules with all these booking decisions, and I couldn't believe this, that they made them the tag team champions. Then they turned Trish heel. And not only because of the fact that it looked like shit when she turned on Becky, but the fact is, last week, you just had Brock Lesnar turn on his tag team partner. Oh, and by the way, the day after Brock turned on Cody, Braun Breaker turned heel on NXT. We got a double switch on NXT. The night after, we got Brock turning on Cody Rhodes, and now we have Trish. So now we've had 3 heel turns in the span of 8 days in WWE.
Of top people.
Of top people. You got, a lot of people's Rushmore of female wrestlers in wrestling history, Trish Stratus. Brock Lesnar is, he's a GOAT. And Braun Breaker is, the next up-and-coming star. I think that he turned on one of the other up-and-coming stars, but that's besides the point. But, you didn't give us any surprise returns other than Riddle, the Raw after WrestleMania. There was no debuts. There was a lot of talk that there was some, a hiring freeze, and Triple H comes out and refutes that and everything. Why? Why would you do it a week after you just had somebody else do it? It's just lazy booking. You just did copy and paste from the week before. And why? Because you actually had a wrestling match that was okay? Because she attacked the person who was supposed to be in the match before the match? That's supposed to be okay? It's not okay.
Herb Abrams' long-lost child, Matt Riddle.
Bro. I almost wore the Matt Riddle shirt I had, too. The Arcade Bro 420.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Jay. What did you think about all of that? This is right up your wheelhouse. This is Roman beating the OC.
What are the consistency level is it's about as stable as diarrhea. Because that's what this was. Again, you had the thing last week where you have the Street Profits who won that showcase match, but they don't get a title shot. And then you get a team who didn't win their showcase match, getting a title shot, and then winning the titles. I know that the whole idea was the storyline with Trish and turning that into money come SummerSlam. But there's ways that you could make things make sense without doing things stupidly with the book.
Agreed.
And they chose what I would consider an expedient path. As much as, like, you know what, Liv has built a following for her. I think there is certainly stuff with Raquel, like she's got the size. She does a lot of really good things in the ring, but, you know, she hasn't really been built up as anything more than like kind of sort of an attraction on the main roster, but you haven't seen much out of her as far as, again, character development and what have you. Liv, you've seen the character development, but again, this is like a makeshift team. And when we were talking about WrestleMania, I know I pointed out specifically about, like, for the women's match,
Agreed.
No team actually had a team name. Where 3 out of the 4 teams at WrestleMania for the men's match actually had a team name. So part of this feeds into that. But again, it comes down to kind of lazy booking and just they could have done better with this. But I mean, we are where we are, and I will still come out on the side of, with the top of the line stuff, Triple H has mostly done a really good job of booking. Some of the stuff that's been mid-card, I mean, clearly you and I are completely on board with what he's done with Gunther.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say, for myself, I am certainly not against, and I think they've done a pretty good job of rebuilding Austin Theory.
Agreed.
Into, like, not just being a lackey for Vince McMahon. You know, they've changed the character enough to do something. But there are certainly things that, like, again, feel less important, that it almost like Triple H is like, whatever. And it feels like the women's tag team titles is the whatever, at the expense of, like, okay, well, we're going to do this to book this match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I get why they're doing it, because, like you said, they're going to do Becky and Trish at SummerSlam, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that match. They're going to have a great match between the two of them. It's just I think that they could have done a better job at building it up. Just like I said about Cena and Theory at WrestleMania. If they had just done it like I had said, where Theory comes out, does his introduction, and then John Cena comes out, does the Make-A-Wish Kids, and then Cena does his sprint to the ring. But before he hits the ring, Theory comes out and blasts him with the United States Championship, hits him again, throws him into the stairs, hits him into the post, throws Cena into the ring. I want this match, and then, the referee, are you sure you want this, Cena? Because it's Super Cena. Yeah, I want this match. If he had gotten in there, hit him with A-Town down after the bell rang and go for the 2 count, the place would have popped. Cena could have tried his 5 moves of doom, and then somehow it would have been thwarted with the, either the 5-knuckle shuffle or the attitude adjustment that gets fucked up, and then he goes and hits him with an A-Town down, pins him, boom. People would have been booing for all the right reasons. It should not have looked like I should have looked in my toilet after a drizzle shit, because that's exactly what that match was. I just booking, like you said, a lot of the stuff he has done, he's done a great job with the booking. There's been a lot of hiccups, and the tag team championships for the women is right up there with just about any other stupid thing he's done.
Right.
I would say it's up there with Austin Theory cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on the United States champion in the middle of an open challenge.
That made less sense than when Velveteen Dream decided to go for the North American title instead of the NXT title.
That was like remember in NXT season 1 and Wade Barrett won it, and then he got the WWE title shot, and I want to say it was Kaval Low-Key who won season 2. Is it season 2 or season 3 he won? And then he won it, and then he ended up fighting for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
But that's okay. The season 2 of NXT gave us 2 of the greatest stars, and 2 guys who've been mentioned on this podcast more than just about anybody else. Bray Wyatt. I'm sorry. Husky Harris and Michael McGillicuddy. And everybody knows Michael McGillicuddy is now in the FM Marks Hall of Fame.
3,000 in a certain amount of days, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes. But, I mean, honestly, he's done a great job. There's just certain things he's done that I'm just like,
Wait. So, Rey Mysterio, after beating the hell out of his son and whipping him in the butt like Rhea Ripley does on a nightly basis to Condom, has come out and said he would not mind having a hair versus mask match with his son. With that in mind, with the outcome we got at WrestleMania, would there be any outcome with this that should be anything but Rey Mysterio taking off the mask again for the first time in 20 plus years?
No, Dominic Mysterio shaves his head.
Okay.
I know storyline-wise that Dominic Mysterio should win this match. Nobody wants to see Rey without that mask on.
I mean, he kind of looks. He looks like a older version of Dominic, but shorter.
I have a very special place in my heart for Rey Mysterio. I popped so hard when he won the championship in 2005, I believe it was. In 2006.
Time when he won it for 2 hours before Super Cena took it from him.
No, when he won the world championship to sell it, because it was just for when he won the Rumble, and then he fought Kurt Angle and Randy Orton in the triple threat.
Mania win.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the time when he ended up winning the title, I think on Raw, and then Cena challenged him like immediately, and he lost it like an hour and a half later.
Yeah, that was when that was the summer of Punk, because Punk walked out with the title of Money in the Bank. And they're like, well, we need a new WWE champion, so they gave it to Rey, and then Cena's like, well, I should get a shot. What? That was like when they're like, that was like when Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble. It's like, I'm going to challenge Brock Lesnar, and then Goldberg's like, I'll fight. I'm looking for a challenger, and Roman's like, I'll fight. I'll just show up and wrestle. Ugh. I'm the big dog. I am the only person in F&M Mark's history to win the same Marquee Award 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Quite as impressive as still being alive in the Royal Rumble, but pretty damn impressive.
My favorite part about that was, especially because I just saw Timmy pop in there, is Tommy goes, well, what about Hornswoggle?
Hey, I know Tommy has always been a long proponent of the fact that Hornswoggle actually entered the ring, and Curtis Axel did not, but Curtis Axel is a GOAT, Hornswoggle is not.
It's funny, too, because I think the Rumble that Cena and Batista eliminated each other, Scotty Too Hotty never got in the ring. The double quad. When Scotty Too Hotty never got in the ring, so technically he won the 2005 Royal Rumble. Is that part is I couldn't tell you who won the 2015 Royal Rumble. Was that Seth? No.
It's a good question. 2016 was Roman Reigns.
Hair is very wet.
That was in Philadelphia.
Shit. I know Del Rio won the one that was 40. I think that was 11 or 12.
2011.
I know Orton won the 2008.
You know, Sheamus was 2012.
Yes, I do know Sheamus is 2012. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was 1988.
Oh!
The Garbage Man. I mean, the
9, Hulk Hogan, 1990. Ric Flair, 92. I think 91 was also Hogan.
Hogan was 90. Is
that Shawn Michaels' year?
90. No, he won the 95.
Was that? Okay.
He won 95 and 96.
Lex and Bret the Hitman, 94.
94. Steve Austin was 97, 99, and I believe 2001.
Sounds about right. Vince McMahon, one of those years.
I know that I know he definitely won 97 because that was the fucked finish one where he got eliminated, but the refs didn't see him, yeah. and then he tossed out Vader, Undertaker, and the Hitman.
Yeah,
I know that, and I know 2001 led to.
Wait,
we're not going to talk about that.
Gatsby. Yep. Anyway.
I'm going to think about who won the 2015 Royal Rumble because I've been so caught up over the last 8+ years on Curtis Axel that I forgot everything else that happened in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Other than I thought that was the one where the Big Show came in and just started eliminating all my favorite wrestlers, and then I was like, "Ugh, I hate the Big Show," and then he blocked me on Twitter 2 years later.
Piece of crap.
Ugh. The Big Slow.
Yeah. I'm trying to look it up as we're doing the show to see if I can find. Yeah.
Let's see. I have only like a couple of like minor notes. Where did it go? I'm sorry. I just had it. Now I lost it. Well, Nakamura. We haven't seen Nakamura since 2022. And the last time we actually heard about him being in the ring was when he fought the GOAT Muda, future FN Marks Hall of Famer, the Great Muda. And we'll do better on his induction speech than Ric Flair did for his WWE Hall of Fame induction speech. But Nakamura...
In 2015.
That's probably why I forgot. 16. Jay, 16 was Triple H.
That's right, because he won the title and then ended up going against Roman in the main event at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, where 102,000 people allegedly were there, and The Rock ended up having a six-second match against Captain Wedgie.
Yes. Yes, I remember that because I was actually watching the Royal Rumble while I was working. And I remember I specifically remember the 16 Rumble because when AJ Styles came out, I was so pissed. My coworker, are you okay? No! AJ Styles came out, they didn't even show him.
Batista was 2014.
Yep. Because he won the year that it was supposed to go to Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan, the rest is history. And then,
I have a few things more note-wise. We are getting clearly Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania Backlash. Roman Reigns is not going to be there, so they need a super high-profile match. Roman, they have announced Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia at the end of May. Roman Reigns is going to have a match there. There are actually some murmurs, perhaps, of a Sami Zayn appearance in Saudi Arabia.
I don't see it.
I mean, much as I'd like to see maybe there might be a change of heart within the whole country, I don't feel it.
Nope, I don't. Sami Zayn doesn't need to be there, and neither does MVP.
You need a marquee match that's a big deal that we haven't seen before, and having Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes May 6th in San Juan, Puerto Rico, I think is a really big deal. And I mean, I don't know what they're going to do booking wise. I mean, for the most part, Brock's been doing a lot of jobs lately, and it feels like he probably needs to do another job because Cody is trying to earn his way back into title contention. Cody, outside of Seth Rollins, to me, is the most deserving of having an opportunity. Because, like, who else do you have to go against Roman Reigns coming soon where you feel like it should be a legit thing?
I don't see them doing Cody and Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. They're going to save Cody and Roman. Yeah.
He needs to win this match against Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he's gonna win it. Yeah.
In Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely got to beat Brock in Puerto Rico. Now you got me thinking, like, who the hell are they going to do Roman at in Saudi Arabia?
Do they sit there and try to put Sami Zayn into that? We already did the Logan Paul thing. Who out there do you feel is ready? I'd say the only, in my view, legit person would be Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins beat Logan Paul, who pushed Roman Reigns to the limit the last time they were in Saudi Arabia. You could make a case for that match happening because there was not a clean finish between them when they faced each other the last time. And there's 10 years of history there.
But I'll tell you right now, I love that question. I love that thought. I definitely want to revisit this, after they do the draft next month, because we'll have a clearer picture of what, and we'll have a clearer picture of what they're going to do going forward, because we'll figure out if Roman's staying on SmackDown, if he's going to Raw, are we going to have two different champions? I mean, because honestly, the one person I could think of is Gunther. You want to talk about a legitimate challenger for Roman Reigns? Gunther has not been pinned in a one-on-one match since he debuted on the main roster last year.
I think the last person to pin him was Dragunov.
I think there was some people down in NXT. I know he beat Solo in NXT. I know he fought Braun Breaker down in NXT, and he got pinned by Braun Breaker down in the regular NXT. But he didn't really suffer. I'll tell you, he didn't really suffer a lot of losses in WWE. I think he has a loss to Dragunov, and I think he has a loss to Braun Breaker. I think that's it. And everybody's like, oh, who could you see legitimately taking the Intercontinental Championship off Gunther? Pete Dunne. I mean, shit. That was the match of the year for me a couple of years ago, and if they gave me that match again, I would pay for that one. Oh, absolutely, I'd pay for that one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, honestly, it's either Seth Rollins or Gunther as legitimate threats to Roman Reigns outside of Cody.
So one thing I saw that definitely I was like going, this will cause a brainless tism possibly. Ava Marie talking about how she is in constant talks with WWE.
I just went to dark mode.
That brainless one.
I can't believe it took you this long to mention it on the podcast, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah?
I mean, clearly she has heel heat with you. Actually, she probably has X-Pac heat with you.
X-Pac doesn't even have X-Pac heat for me anymore. Dare I say it? I actually like X-Pac.
Now, is it Buckaroo's heat or is it the Elite?
Oh, no.
Or face?
nobody gets more heat from me than Kenny Omega. I'm sorry. No. Kenny Omega is, after having to endure the fuck doll match between Kenny Omega and whatever the hell it's called. I'm glad you said that. Did you know that the blow-up doll that him and Kota Ibushi not only share has a championship?
Really?
And not only does it have a championship, it is a former 14-time champion. Then see Eva Marie do her Nia Jax impression. With or without the Novocaine, Chris Brown, that's a very important thing. As somebody who's had two of them, it's uncomfortable with the Novocaine, but it's got to be worse without it. Jay, you know how I feel about Eva Marie. I'm sure I made a list of 10 things I'd rather see than Eva Marie return to WWE. If not, that could be another top 10 list.
All right. Speaking of top things you probably wouldn't rather see returning to WWE TV, one person that apparently they've had re-signed for almost 6 months who has not made an appearance in any way, shape, or form on television is one Eric Young.
He was supposed to be part of the Wyatt Six.
My belief is creatively he was supposed to be a part of a Wyatt Six thing. And because of all the chicanery and all the craziness that has gone on with this dude has been sitting on his ass for the last 5+ months, almost 6 months, doing jack shit. And are we to the same point that we were before, where Eric Young says flat out a couple of years ago, if you have a 3-hour show and you have me hired and you can't find me a few minutes, the problem is you, not me. And I'm sure he's behind the scenes thinking the same thing. Or honestly, at this point, him and Bobby Lashley need to form a faction, and they just need to destroy Bray Wyatt.
There you go. With Captain Howdy.
Right.
I cannot believe that they've had him under contract.
Who is no spring chicken at this point.
Right.
Who, hey, we want to bring you back. We want you to be in this faction. And oh, by the way, shit happened.
I still think that we need to get some kind of clarification with this whole Wyatt family thing. With the Bray Wyatt thing. Because I've been waiting 6 months for some kind of clarification. And honestly, it can't be that bad for Eric. He must be getting a really nice paycheck to be sitting at home for 5 months.
But, if you're a performer, you want to perform. You don't want to, feel like you're a freeloader.
Right.
So.
No, I agree. I do think that he was definitely – when I saw that was the case, that he had re-signed in November and he hasn't been on TV, I said, oh, yeah, he's definitely part of the Wyatt thing.
Right.
He saw the Mountain Dew match and said, I want to go back to Impact. Is there any way that Cody Deaner cannot kill me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
A couple other folks that have been on WWE's radar allegedly, and even though they allegedly don't have a hiring freeze, but apparently this was part of the hiring freeze where they didn't hire people. Allegedly, the Authors of Pain were on a list of possibly coming back to WWE, along with finally, possibly,
Precious Paul.
Nick Aldis.
Ooh.
So they talked about Nick Aldis possibly getting signed to WWE. I know, again, Nick Aldis, not a spring chicken, but, I mean, heck, they brought in Bobby Roode, who, you know what? I'm going to say has had a really solid run. I know he's been out with injury for a while, but has had a solid run WWE, NXT champion, tag team champion, US champion. That's not too shabby for a dude who was, when he signed with WWE in his late 30s. You sign somebody like Nick Aldis, who's got the, body you're looking for, has developed a bit of the personality that you're looking for in an entertainer. He could have a good solid run for a few years and be at that mid-card level and possibly have a short run with a secondary title or be a tag team champion and do some, good stuff in the biggest company in the world.
And honestly, if you think about it, I mean, Bobby Lashley is also in his mid-40s. AJ Styles is in his mid-40s. Randy Orton's in his early 40s. The Miz is in his early 40s. You got a lot of guys who are in their 40s that are still out there. I mean, look at Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley
he does different than he did 20 years ago.
No, he doesn't. He's still a force. I fucking love Bobby Lashley. Every time he comes out, I'm like, Bobby Lashley's here. And I was kind of on the fence with him for the longest time because I'm like, yeah, he's an imposing figure and he could do some cool stuff. But, like, he's horrible on the mic. Man, I am so glad that I'm on his bandwagon now in this second run. Because ever since he turned heel, he's taken off and just gone, just shot into a stratosphere. I was so happy when he won the championship. I hated the way he won the championship, but I was happy he won the thing.
Were you stratified?
But, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Nick Aldis if he were to come in. I heard that if they were going to bring in the Authors of Pain, that they were going to bring back Precious Paul with him, or them.
I mean, that was the whole problem when they brought him to the main roster. But anyway. Brian Cage, who, kind of weren't sure what was going to happen, but his re-signed with AEW, a long-term contract. He's one of those big dudes. He's got the physique. He could do the moves, but I don't think he's ever quite gotten the character down to become a top-level person in one of the top companies. Again, he's got the look, and he could do the stuff in the ring. And I know his wife complains a lot that he deserves better, but there's nothing with his character that makes me like, I can't wait to see him.
Right.
He does fine in the ring, and I like to see his matches, but I am not like begging for it. I mean, I think he got the best deal he probably could, and good on him. Again, this comes back to the idea of I'm glad that there are a few places where people can earn a good living and, earn the money you can while you can. And, I think he realized that AEW was not so bad.
Right. And honestly, I remember, like, the first time I ever watched Brian Cage was down in Lucha Underground. And I enjoyed the hell out of Lucha Underground. And I've been a fan of Ricochet's since the Lucha Underground when he was Prince Puma. And, and Kill Switch or whatever it was Swerve Strickland. And I'll tell you, when I first saw Brian Cage, I'm like, man, he looks exactly like what Vince McMahon wants. But, I mean, good on him. And it's funny and ironic that he signed his new contract, and now Swerve, who went from being in, the tag team with Keith Lee, and then they put him in the Mogul, whatever it was, with Parker Boudreaux and the very tatted up former baseball player, and now he's in the Embassy with Brian Cage and all those guys. And it's funny.
Got to be in effect.
I mean, why is he? Why are they hot potatoing him like he's the TNT championship?
I don't know.
But I was glad to see Brian Cage get the contract. I just don't like when we find out tonight that FTR signed a 4-year contract with AEW. Brian Cage, this goes for you, just like it's going to go for Dax Harwood. You need to shut the fuck up because now that you've re-signed, you can't complain about where you are on the roster.
Because you made a decision.
You could have went to WWE and made money and did something there. It's a better – I know that as deep as the tag team division is in AEW, outside of maybe the best friends and – I'm not going to say the Buckaroos. Outside of the best friends and the Acclaimed, I mean, what else do you have after –
You got the boys. You got the ass boys.
they're good. They're getting there. They need to kind of like smooth things out, but they got the character development down, and they got the reactionary from the crowd. They're still a little green in the ring for my liking. They're better than Dom in the ring, but they need to get just a little bit better to be considered part of the FTRs, the Young Bucks, the Acclaims.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pride and Powerful and the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah. But the Lucha Brothers are Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions.
Right.
And Pride and Powerful, nobody knows what the hell's happening with Santana. He's been out for almost a year with an injury.
Right.
And Ortiz is kind of just following around Eddie Kingston like a puppy dog.
And they kind of hated each other, I think, towards before the injury happened. But
that was because they wanted different things.
Talking about injuries and talking about this, that, and the other thing, I think we might have touched on it before, but the GOAT, R-Truth, allegedly coming back soon. I look forward to him coming back. I hope it's the main roster because I get a bigger smile on my face seeing R-Truth on the main roster than NXT.
I want it to be at the draft. I want him kind of like what they did when they teased it. Like, I got the big selection for SmackDown, and Elias came out with Vince. I mean, if they did something like that, and this is the big main guy and then R-Truth, that place would freaking erupt. You know it.
And then he'll get the next draft pick, and it'll be his childhood hero, John Cena. It'll be great.
I'm surprised they only did that once, where they had somebody get drafted to one show and then back to the other show at the end of the night.
Anyway, anything else you got, Brainless One?
The only thing I have on here, actually no, I covered it. I said Braun Breaker turned heel.
Yeah,
that was the last thing I had was Braun Breaker turned heel, but I already mentioned it. Let me just double and triple check my notes just to make sure. I said Nakamura. Oh, so you know how WWE has these NIL deals that they're bringing in the people from college, and they're bringing in the college athletes, and we've seen some of the wrestlers or some of the prospects come in, and like the Braun Breakers and the Creeds, Sol Ruka, people who have been a part of that who are now transitioning into the wrestling ring. Well, it was either last year or the year before, they brought in these two girls who were twins playing college basketball called the Cavender Twins. They were with Oregon last year, and this past season, they led Miami as a 9 seed to the final. I think it was the Final Four for the women's. Might have been just the Elite Eight, but I think it was the Final Four. And they were a big part of it. Well, they announced earlier this week that they were planning on not coming back to Miami for another season, and that they were going to go and move on to the next chapter of their careers. Well, apparently they came out and have teased that they're going to be signing with WWE. I think this is a good move. I know that some of the people they've brought in haven't really transitioned. I know that some of them have really trained. I mean, for every Braun Breaker, you got Parker Boudreaux. I think that with some of the young talent that they have brought in, even some of the more established people on the main roster, this is a good sign for them. Because you might actually have a set of twins who are talented enough to actually do something in WWE.
My man.
Freebird. Oh. Yeah. But I thought that was, because they had one more year of eligibility left in college, and they could have went and played basketball somewhere else. I think this is, no pun intended, I think this is a slam dunk for WWE.
We shall see. I think WWE thought Gable Steveson was slam dunk, and they drafted him to Raw, and he's yet to show up.
Well, they did. That's what happened to Bray Wyatt.
Send him over to SmackDown during the draft in a few weeks.
He's going to be a consolation pick. He's going to be like what they did with Mr. Kennedy, where he was like one of the last picks on Raw of the draft a couple of years ago, and then he was on the website they posted he was like one of the last picks on SmackDown.
He's not going to be Heath Slater, right?
No.
Nobody
will be he's got kids. Which is funny too, because Gable Stevenson's brother, Damon Kemp, or whatever Stevenson's brother's real name is, but like he's actually pretty good. He's really good in the ring. I know he's got to work on his mic skills, but he can go.
If you combined he and his brother, like Gable is a character already.
Yeah.
Without being a character. But
we'll see what happens after the next Olympics, because he is going to wrestle in the Olympics, I think, this year. Or next year, I should say.
Next year, yeah.
But yeah, that was my last note for the podcast. Do you have anything else, sir?
No, I think we're ready to roll on to our good, bad, and brainless.
All righty. So what do you have for your good this week, Cousin Jay?
As much as I think this rich, old piece of crap could get away with it, I have a high appreciation for the fact that there is a code of conduct against Vince McMahon now, and I think Endeavor will actually follow through if they find out that Vince has done anything really crappy and fire that MFer.
Okay.
I think that's a great thing, actually. Not good, it's fucking great.
I like it.
Brainless one.
Now, mind you, for 2 days, my good was Jeff Hardy saving his brother without dancing in the ring like an asshole. But something else this week was so much better that I had to give it to somebody else. And like I've said before, I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it. Nobody is excluded from the good, bad, and brainless. So, Cousin Jay, for the second time, I believe this year, you have gotten my good for this week. Because that video was spectacular. Between that and the hurricane of monsoon of gorillas, and oh man, it's just, you've been knocking all of them out of the park. Even the little clips that you have just to break down everything. But this one just, other than Party's Over Grandpa and Sheamus beating Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds, there's not a thing on the internet that's wrestling related I've watched more than that Curtis Axel video. So I have to give it to you, especially because on top of the great that video was, the GOAT himself responded.
He did.
So
that was pretty great.
So
pretty.
And honestly, I know it's kind of weak and everything compared to other years, but that is the front runner for my mark-out moment of the year. Curtis Axel responding to us.
Effing marked Hall of Famer.
Yes. What do you got for your bad?
I'm going with the whole Eric Young thing. How do you have a guy signed for all this time and you can't figure out a way to get him on TV? Again, it seems apparent that he was supposed to be part of the Wyatt Six or whatever they were doing with Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
Bray Wyatt, for the most part, has been on TV over the last, I'd say 4 of those 6 months.
Yep.
And you couldn't figure out a way to get Eric Young, who you've been paying, onto the TV. This is just purely bad on WWE's part. Again, I come out with Triple H with the top storylines. I think he's done a really good job, and I think he's a bit all over the place as far as the lower mid-card of the roster.
Yeah.
So that is my bad for this week.
I'll tell you right now, I would agree with you, but I'm going to let this, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the hell happened. I must have taken like a brain injury, got hit with something that I don't remember. But I'm going to let this play out. Maybe it's because, when he left Impact, he was clean-shaven, bald head. Maybe they wanted him to regrow the beard and have that gnarly hair like he had when he was Insanity. To kind of get that character, because, you could probably pull it off with the shaved head and the clean-shaven face, but I think that if you want somebody to stick out, you want what he looked like when he was Insanity. He looked awesome in Insanity. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
But it's a hell of a pick because he's too damn talented to not have on television.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep hammering away on something myself, as I'm going to go with the Outcasts versus the Originals on the AEW. We're going to do the NWO bullshit storyline once again. And it's because the storyline is stupid. You're trying to replicate what you did with Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash with Paige, Ruby Riott, and Tony Storm. And it has kind of fallen flat. But not only that, this week on the show, when Britt Baker made her way to the ring, I'm guessing she either has a bad knee or the pants that she was wearing was restricting her from doing what she was doing. But her kicks looked like shit. So on top of the storyline being dumb, Britt Baker, your best heel, is doing the babyface shit again, and then she has the shitty kicks, and you have a 3-on-2 disadvantage, and the 2 overcome the 3. That storyline every single week, it bothers me and it gives me a headache, and I hate the fact that I have to keep mentioning it every week. But again, here we are.
Okay.
What do you got for your brainless?
I have to go with something that we discussed at the very beginning, and I have to go with Jeff Harvey showing back up on my television. Everybody deserves to earn a living if they're outside of prison walls. I think Jeff got off very light for the things he's done over many years.
Yep.
And, Tony Khan, very forgiving, giving him one last chance. But the fact that Jeff isn't even medically cleared to have a wrestling match tells me, why couldn't you wait another few weeks till he was actually medically cleared to have a match and to do other stuff? I don't think Jeff should be back in the ring in general, but the fact that they brought him back early, why and what for? And that is my brainless for this week.
That's a good brainless. And my favorite part, I forgot to mention it earlier, Bubba Ray Dudley commented on the situation, and he said, and I quote, "Jeff can't fuck this up. Because this is pretty much your last chance." But for me, I'm going with the way that they handled the women's tag team championships this past week on Monday. Between Lita getting taken out by Trish Stratus, and they're playing so you got attacked, and she's in the hospital, and then Trish, I'll help you defend the titles, and then they lose them to not only a makeshift tag team, but a makeshift tag team who lost in the women's tag team showcase match at WrestleMania 8 days prior, and then they win the titles.
Yeah.
A week after Trish Stratus, a week after Brock Lesnar turned on his tag team partner. So now I'm thinking, I'm a horse racing fan. You look at past performances and you look at consistencies. So clearly they're going to do another heel turn this week on Monday coming up in a tag team match. So
it's going to be great on AEW this week. Big Show is going to turn heel and face 5 times.
It still wouldn't be as many
to compete.
He's mad. Oh, I'm going to do it too. Whoa, I'm turning heel. Never mind. That was terrible.
Captain Insano.
Captain Insano showed no mercy. Anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are going live. And make sure you give us a subscribe on Spotify so that way if you're on the road, you will be able to watch the show and listen to the show. And beyond that, in general, I've been trying to add the extra content to YouTube and do stuff a little bit different. So make sure you put a subscribe onto that, and hope y'all appreciate the little things that we've been putting on that and enjoying that. But yeah, I think that's it for the show. Nothing else to add because there's been nothing else big that has happened this week, and we don't need to celebrate anything else. We're good. We're done.
I think somebody would beg to differ, Cousin Jay.
Yeah?
I'm not going to go through the whole fooling around. This is a big moment yesterday. We celebrated 3,000 days.
Huge.
We celebrated 3,000 days. We made a big deal. But it doesn't discount the fact that this guy right here, Curtis Axel, Michael McGillicuddy, Joe Hennig, F. Marks Hall of Famer, today, April 14th, 2023, at an improbable 3,001 day, F. Marks Hall of Famer, still alive. Not Hornswoggle in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Oh, bow.
So for episode 308 of everyone's favorite, I'm sending what you put up to Axel on Twitter and see if he replies. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? Anyway, so for episode 308 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay, and he is.
I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out.
With your guac out. See everybody. Enjoy Smack. Enjoy Raw as much as you can. And whatever Dynamite puts out there, hopefully there's enough entertainment. Anyway, we will see you next week for another exciting episode of the F and Marks podcast. Yeah!
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you later.
Later, y'all. Later, Cousin Jay.
Later, Cousin Bobby.
Yeah?
I'll see you later. Yeah?
Yeah?